Michael Jackson. Looking at this text message, Eric was a little surprised and immediately dialed the unfamiliar number. The phone was answered instantly, and a soft voice rang from the other side, the same as when he was facing the interview. "Hello, this is Mike Jackson, little Mr. Cooper?" After saying that, Eric was more convinced that it was exactly the same as MJ's voice during the interview, and it was certain that it was him. Those who know him know that although Michael on stage has an explosive voice and dances enthusiastically, life is actually the opposite. Even in the face of those who maliciously smeared, he rarely yelled angrily, often only making his already gentle voice even deeper. Hearing MJ's voice for the first time, Eric was still a little excited. "Yes, I'm Eric Cooper." There was silence for a moment, and after a few seconds of silence, Eric was a little strange. "Mike Ho, are you okay?" Michael's voice resounded again. "I'm fine. Just wanted to ask, Mr. Cooper, have we met before?" "No. Many people have already asked me this question today, but I have only seen you on TV screens." "Oh, thanks. I thought I forgot about you." Michael's voice visibly relaxed. "This afternoon, my friend showed me the interview, and I thank you so much for believing in me, and really, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Cooper." "No, don't say that. I'm just doing what a righteous person should do. You're a good person, you're a big good person, and call me Eric, although we didn't know each other before, but I'd love to be your friend," Eric said softly. After Eric finished speaking, there was another dozen seconds of silence on the other side, followed by a soft sigh. "I'm sorry, I had already thought about what to say, but suddenly I couldn't say those words. It's a tough time for me, but from you I feel warmth. Thank you. Really thank you, Eric. However, I also have a request." "What?" Eric asked. "Don't say that again, because that will get you in trouble, and a lot of crazy people will not only attack me, but also hurt the people associated with me." Eric laughed. "Maiku, do you think I'll be scared? I'm not a star, I don't need to show my head often, and I haven't passed my 22nd birthday yet. I have muscles and hot blood in my body. If anyone wants to attack me, let them come. I'll beat them all over the ground looking for teeth." "Huh." Eric's answer made MJ laugh too. "Eric, it's a pleasure to talk to you. If you have time, why don't you come to Neverland? You can bring your friends to play." "Wait, forget it. There are often reporters blocking here now, and it will be very troublesome to be photographed. No matter how bad I don't want others to be hurt. That's MJ's character." Eric said categorically. "No problem. I've wanted to visit Neverland for a long time, just this weekend. I can relax for 2 days." Although Michael's face could not be seen, his emotions could be clearly raised. "Okay, I look forward to your coming." Eric's support was only circulated on the internet that afternoon, and when he woke up, the print media report officially began, and more than a dozen newspapers published it in the entertainment section. It's just that some newspapers chose to pinch their heads and tails. Anyway, this is their usual style, especially after Eric scolds people on the spot. Only ghosts can give a good face. This can be seen from the various disgusting titles. The Independent, a S own account of how crazy they would be for that pedophile. San Francisco Entertainment News, the clown who wants to replace God, a poor man who can't find his own place. New York Times, look down on juniors, insult peers. That's what Michael Jackson fans are. Salt Lake City Entertainment, who's mythologizing Michael Jackson? Touting him will only make more people hate him. Almost all of the dozen or so newspapers devoted a page to MJ's story, and in addition to Eric's interview, there were many other interviews, but none of them had good words. As for Eric's interview, almost no one of his full answers is used, and the whole article is the reporter's own guess assertion. Looking at these reports, Eric was naturally furious, slammed directly on the table, and called Shing to the office. These disgusting maggots posted yesterday's interview video on MGM's official website, and contacted major TV stations and newspapers to give them a copy of the video. Okay, boss. Although this interview video does not do much to clarify MJ's rumors, it cannot be left to those paparazzi to slander. And after these newspapers came out, the people who spoke for Michael naturally ushered in criticism and abuse, including Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor, Macaulay Culkin, and others. MGM's official website also ushered in a wave of internet explosions. Those who hate MJ, especially extremists, can't wake up no matter what, and the site is flooded with all kinds of trash talk, swearing, and calls for a boycott of MGM's films. The technical side asked if he wanted to close the comment, but Eric refused. It's normal to have a little sunspot, but he believes that MJ's fans will be no less. And as MGM contacted major radio stations and newspapers, many of them were willing to broadcast without cutting it, even his last racist question. After all, the media is not wearing the same pants, and there is competition with each other. Especially to catch traffic. When slander can be exchanged for traffic, clarification is often possible, similar to in Leon polls. Anyway, the media does not lose. So in the evening, Fox TV, NBC TV, San Francisco Times, American Online, and other media released the original video of Eric's interview with their own commentary. Unlike The Independent and the New York Times, since they have chosen to cooperate, the position of these media outlets is naturally neutral, and they do not boast or black. So in the evening, MGM's official website welcomed MJ's supporters again. Especially under the leadership of the fans of MJ's official website, a group of people launched a counterattack, and the official websites of those newspapers that reported indiscriminately began to be flooded by the internet. Those who go up the mountain should not laugh at the God who goes down the mountain. The media should be fair, justice, and rejection of racial discrimination have become the three most common slogans. The newspaper did not have Eric's endurance, and the message function was turned off directly after being sprayed. For a while, the internet was very lively, and the entire northwest of Shaanxi became a pot of porridge. On AK Films' side, Warren and Bemahadi noticed the situation and gave Eric advice to hire a sailor. However, after careful consideration, he still refused, and now that he is on the side of justice, it is better not to use this method for the time being. The practice of hiring a water army is too poorly concealed and too easy to be picked up. Now, the comments on MGM's official website have shown three completely different painting styles. It's spraying, asking Eric to retract his remarks, calling him a fool, the same pedophile as MJ, and even squirting MGM's century-old brand. These sunspots threaten to stop watching any film and television dramas produced by MGM and called on their friends and family to boycott it. The following is a support, praising Eric as a righteous man, a person who dares to speak the truth, and saying that he will lead his family and friends to support MGM's film. At the same time, the people above are racists and social garbage. And in the middle, there are a lot of passers-by who eat melons. These people have no position. Their attitude is to love what? As long as The Walking Dead and Transformers are exciting enough, they will definitely watch it. As for what justice is not just, what race is not racial, it has a Mao relationship with himself. As long as the movie is good, even if the actor is really a scumbag, it will not hinder the happiness that the work brings to him. The time came to Saturday in this kind of spraying and mutual spraying, and in the past few days, the combat effectiveness of both sides has weakened, and the voice of abuse on the internet has gradually decreased. And in the past few days, the third episode of The Walking Dead has aired. This episode features a zombie attack on the survivors' camp, with hundreds of zombies rushing through the darkness of the night. Plasma, viscera, screams, and the exciting spectacle once again raised the ratings to a new level, and the number of people online reached 11.7 million at the same time. So it's bullshit to say anything about boycotting. As long as your quality is high enough, the audience will naturally choose you. While scolding, He looks at it and his mouth is upright. At this time, on the road to the city of Santa Barbara, a Lamborghini was speeding wildly. Micah's Neverland is located in Santa Barbara, not far from Los Angeles, 150 kilometers north of the kilometer. Early this morning, Eric picked up Godot and little Elizabeth, and the three of them went to Neverland together. Well, dear, if you kiss again, the traffic police will come to us. Godot's lips just left Eric's mouth, and the brushy eyes were about to drip water. It's April 30th, my birthday, Eric, in 2 days. Yes, baby, I know what that means, but there's a little guy in the back, so you'd better be reserved. Godot looked back at Elizabeth in the back seat and smiled at the other. Although Ao May is only 14 years old, the general environment of the entertainment industry makes her more precocious than her peers, and she can vaguely guess what the two are talking about. Elizabeth looked at Godot with some envy. It's okay, you can continue, just let me not exist. Although she said this in front of the children, she must follow the rules. Godot chatted with Elizabeth for a while, and after knowing that her parents divorced when she was very young, she suddenly touched each other's heads with some distress. Actually, it's nothing, I'm used to it. Although my father and mother can't continue to be together, their love for me has not diminished. Sometimes one of them was with me. Sometimes two of them played with me, and Ashley and Mary, so I had a good and happy life. You're in such a good state of mind, Elizabeth. Godot admired this little girl a little. Godot, how is the filming of Happy Death Day? You joined the group again not long after resting. Can your body be able to eat? The reason why Eric asked this is naturally for a reason. Only 10 days after the completion of Transformers, she joined the crew of Happy Death Day again. Eric didn't communicate with her in advance. Godot originally planned to go back to stay with her family for a while. After all, she had been away from home for more than half a year, and the two things naturally contradicted. In the end, under Eric's persuasion, she still took the play. For Hollywood actors, 1 drama a year and 1 drama every 2 years are the norm, and 2 dramas a year can be regarded as highly prolific. For example, Jessica Chastain, who makes 5 plays a year, can be called a model worker, and Alicia Vikander, a sister of Can, is also called a model worker because of 5 plays a year. For Hollywood actors, it is common to take a month or 2 off after filming a film. Fortunately, I'm in good health, but the crew has just started working. Maybe it takes time to run in, so this week is not going fast. Director Russell is a very demanding person, and I have to do what he asks him to do. Doesn't it seem like a good tone to listen to, and is it unpleasant to get along with the Russo brothers? Asked Eric by pinching Godot's thigh. Grabbing the man's hand and stuffing it into the hole in his jeans for him to explore, Godot winked and replied, "It's not unpleasant. He didn't scold me, but he will make me keep retaking until he is satisfied. I think it's more comfortable to be filming with you and with Patty. At least you won't have a cold face like Director Russell." Eric chuckled a few times. Godot, this is the state of most directors. They are different from me. Some have good tempers and some have bad tempers. For example, James Cameron is a well-known tyrant on the set, but there are countless actors who want to play his plays. You can't just shoot me. The Russo brothers are just the first. In your career, you will meet more very different directors. Some people just like to torture actors, so learn to adapt, learn to adjust. Godot nodded slightly. I understand. I'm just thinking, it would be nice if I could keep starring in your movies. You as the director, and I as the heroine. I will definitely be as happy as filming Transformers. Huh. Seeing the two talking and laughing, Elizabeth in the back seat couldn't help but feel a wave of envy in her heart. When will I be able to film with Eric? I don't know if the drama he said will be the director himself. After more than an hour, Lamborghini slowly stopped in front of an iron bar. The gate was gorgeous and beautiful, and there were yellow tulips blooming on both sides of the road. I made a phone call to Micah's, and soon a sightseeing car drove by, driving the king of pop music, Michael Jackson. The door opened and MJ, dressed in red, smiled and opened his hands. Welcome, welcome to my house. Fantasy Manor was originally a farm, covering an area of 2,800 acres, which is larger than the 10 Tiananmen Squares combined. Michael Jackson bought it in 1987 and spent a lot of money to transform the farm into an amusement park, sports field, zoo, movie theater, and other resorts, and named it Neverland, after the Neverland from Peter Pan. Unlike the lodge, however, it is closed to the public, and only Michael Jackson's friends and children are welcome. If it were any other time, there would be a lot of kids playing here, from Santa Barbara and from other places, and they came from all over the country. When the kids play here, Neverland is full of laughter, but unfortunately it's not anymore. Driving a sightseeing car, MJ took the three Eric on a tour of the manor and couldn't help but sigh when he talked about it. Don't be discouraged, everything is temporary, and I believe it won't be long before Neverland will be laughing again. My button smiled. I hope so. Godot didn't actually know MJ and had heard his songs, but when Godot grew up, MJ's peak had passed, and the market was gradually occupied by latecomers. But it doesn't matter which side Eric is on, she is on. Those media are really hateful, especially that Martin Basher. This guy is a bastard, she said angrily. Meh. Co sighed. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. I don't think I will accept interviews and documentaries in the future. There will always be people with malicious intentions in their hearts, and you can't find out at all. After a moment's hesitation, Eric still reminded him. Michael, in fact, it's not just the media, but also Gavin Avizo and his family. According to recent media reports, the family's whereabouts are very problematic. Especially Gavin Avizo's mom, Janet, who seems to be plotting bad things that might not be good for you. Speaking of the boy's family, Michael's face obviously became bad, but he still reluctantly said, "It shouldn't be like that. Maybe she just wants to protect Gavin. I have seen their family. They are all very good people. But you have to know that not everyone is static, and good people can become bad under certain conditions, especially when it comes to vital interests. My buckle, let me ask you, will you continue to support Gavin Avizo? I heard that you have not only paid for his medical bills, but also improved the lives of their family, but will you continue to do so? I mean, until Gavin Avizo's parents die of old age, will you?" MJ is kind, but not stupid, especially after the backstab in 1993. He realized what a big piece of fat he was in the eyes of some people, and the sky-high price of $20 million in a bite. Seeing that MJ's face didn't look good, Eric continued, "Michael, there's one more thing I want to tell you. From what I know, Janet Avizo has multiple criminal records, and she's a repeat offender. I'm not saying that people who make mistakes won't change, but you have to learn to protect yourself when you get along with such people. Don't gamble your kindness on other people's character." Like a thunderbolt from the blue, this sentence was like a sword directly inserted into Michael's heart. His face became even more ugly, and then the car drove to the zoo, and Michael looked at Elizabeth. "Do you want to go in? I have animals from all over the world, some of which are rare." Elizabeth nodded. Even though she had been to many interesting places, the magnificence of Neverland still shocked and novelized her. The two happily walked into the zoo, followed by Eric and Godot. "Wow, there are penguins here." Elizabeth looked at the cute little creatures in front of her. "These are not Antarctic penguins. They are tropical penguins, which I brought in from Isabella, and they are called Galapagos penguins," Michael explained. Hearing that penguins can still live in the tropics, let alone Elizabeth, even Godot was surprised. "Can I touch these little ones?" asked Elizabeth excitedly. Michael hurriedly waved his hand. "This is not good. Don't look at them as cute, but these little guys can bite. I have been bitten on the hand before. It really hurts." "It's a shame." After visiting the zoo, several people came to the playground again. Elizabeth pointed to the roller coaster. It looks so beautiful. It's much more magnificent than the ones outside. Can I play with this? McClin shrugged. No problem, but for my age, the roller coaster is a bit too exciting, and I can't participate in this program. Eric looked at Micus, and although the man did not look old, he was actually in his 40s. A man in his 40s, Eric really doesn't understand how he maintains a childlike heart. Maybe some people are so pure. Looking at him, Eric feels a bit like the old naughty boy in the Legend of the Condor Heroes, but not as noisy as the old naughty boy. He is more responsible. Eventually, Eric is pulled on a roller coaster by Elizabeth, and Godot says that he has a psychological shadow about this thing, and he never wants to try it again after riding it once before. The two sat in the first row, and the safety device went to prison. Suddenly, feeling his hand being caught, Eric looked at Alme. Little Elizabeth took a deep breath. That way we won't be nervous. Are you scared? Sort of. And you're still playing? Eric was speechless. I'd like to give it a try. Roller coaster started slowly and quietly looked at Eric's face, and Elizabeth felt a burst of joy in her heart. Only in this way can I hold your hand. After a day of frenzied play, all four of them felt a little tired, and even little Elizabeth had no energy. At the table, Michael brought a soup bowl of steaming beef stew. He said a little shyly, "My cooking skills are very average. If I don't feel good, I will eat other foods. Those are made by Ovid. He is a professional chef." Three of them smiled, and the food cooked by Michael Jackson himself was more than just a taste. Eric had seen a photo of Michael cooking and feasting the Beatles on the internet before, but he didn't expect that he would have this day. Clip. When he picked up a piece of beef and put it in his mouth, the fragrance immediately spread in his mouth, and he couldn't help but give a thumbs up. After playing for a day, everyone was hungry, and more importantly, this kind of playfulness made the relationship between the four of them instantly closer, so Godot and little Elizabeth didn't have any ladle-like scruples, and they just ate when they opened their mouths. Seeing that the three of them were eating happily, my buckle also smiled from the bottom of his heart. Neverland hadn't had a guest in months, and he didn't feel lonely anymore at this moment. After dinner, the four of them sat or lay on the floor as the TV played footage of MJ's previous concerts. My button came over with a drink to distribute to everyone, and Elizabeth suddenly asked, "Miko, why don't you release an album?" My last album was released in 2001, and you probably don't know that it takes a long time to make an album. It's often more than 2 years, and I'm really working on my next album, but it's still a long way before it goes out. Elizabeth was a little surprised. It took 2 years. My sister also released a record, and I felt that their production process was easy and very fast. Eric patted May's little head. Your sister's record is for children and teenagers, and the difficulty is completely different from that of my buckle. My buckle's albums have sold hundreds of millions of copies worldwide, and it's a miracle that Ashley and Mary's records can sell 10 million copies. Seeing Alme's puffed cheeks, MJ comforted and said, "I like children's songs very much, Elizabeth. Next time you come, can you bring me a record of your sister?" Of course. Elizabeth glared at Eric in agreement. Eric spread his hands. "Okay, I said the wrong thing, but it does take a long time to release an album, but why not release a single?" Miku shook his head slightly. "You can't think like this. Although the production time of the single is shorter, but the requirements are higher. 1 or 2 title songs in an album are fine, but the single must generally be the title song, so if there is no good song, it is better not to send it." "I see. I have a song here that you can listen to. You still write songs?" MJ looked at Eric with some surprise. "No, I didn't study music theory. I just hummed by myself." "It's okay. A lot of songs start with a hum, sing one." When it comes to music, Mylock is visibly excited. Sing one, sing one. I haven't heard you sing, Eric." Godot and Elizabeth followed suit. Smack. My buckle snapped his fingers. Sheedy, turn on the equipment. A black ant walked up next door, pressed a button on the wall, turned on the home theater, and then brought Eric the microphone. Coughing lightly, Eric snorted a few more times to find a feeling, and Elizabeth giggled. Although he was not a singer before the crossing, and he didn't have much research on English songs, because he often sang K with female actors, he still knew a few songs that were out of the circle and became famous all over the world. Today's song was specially selected by Eric for MJ, Adele's representative divine comedy, Rolling in the Deep. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear.
Go ahead and sell me out, and I'll lay your ship bare.
See how I leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. The scars of your love remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling.
We could have had it all.
Rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside of your hand, and you played it to the beat. Singing this kind of behavior, when you may be shy in the first line, the second line will still be shy, but when you sing the 10th line, you will definitely let go more and more. Even if it was just a cappella singing without accompaniment, Adele's voice was already echoing in Eric's mind. It wasn't until the climax came that he suddenly realized that this body had no singing talent at all, and the high notes couldn't go up at all, so he could only sing with his neck strained. Ha 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 ha. Godot and Elizabeth couldn't help laughing. They had never seen Eric so funny and embarrassed, and even the black ant next to him patted his thigh and laughed. Eric spreads his hands, meaning you see me at this level. But unlike the others, MJ's eyes were already shining, and he looked at Eric as if he were looking at a treasure. Don't stop. Keep going, don't care about singing, keep singing. With that, he got up from the floor, snapping his fingers and twisting his body slightly. Encouraged by my button, Eric also twisted his body and opened his mouth to continue singing. Baby, I have no story to be told, but I've heard one of you and I'm gonna make your head burn. Think of me in the depths of your despair. Making a home down there as mine sure won't be shared. The scars of your love remind you of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. The scars of your love, they leave me breathless. I can't help feeling.
We could have had it all.
Rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside of your hand. And you played it. To the beat. But you played it. You played it. You played it. You played it to the beat. As the last note fell, Eric looked at Micus. As for Godot and Elizabeth, well, the two of them were still laughing. What do you think of this song? Michael seemed to be still immersed in the melody and only listened to Eric sing again. I was able to hum a part of the melody gently. After a long while, a smile became more and more intense on Micah's face. Eric, is this song really something you're humming when you're idle? Eric nodded shamelessly. Oh my God, you're a genius, and although your singing skills are poor, it doesn't affect the quality of the song and lyrics. Rolling in the deep, both in terms of style and tone, is very new-aged. If the arrangement is done and a suitable singer is chosen to sing it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be at the top of the Billboard charts. Billboard, are you sure? I'm pretty sure. I've seen too many singers and heard too many songs, and I'm pretty sure that some songs are destined to be a hit as soon as they come along. Eric nodded. He didn't know if Rolling in the Deep had ever topped the Billboard charts, but it was all over the world, and it was no problem to think about it. Taking a piece of paper out of his pocket, Eric grabbed my button's hand and placed it in his palm. Then I'll give you this song. Scene was stunned, and MJ looked at the paper full of lyrics, and there were various lines twisted on it. He understood that it was Eric as a layman who was marking the tone. No, I can't ask for it. This song is too expensive and it shouldn't be given as a gift. Eric, you should find a professional team to finish this song, and trust me, there will be a lot of people who are willing to pay a premium for it. With that, MJ shoved the paper back again. Eric looked at him with a smile. My button, are you worried about something? Because it's the first time we've met, so you don't think it's good to accept a gift? But I think even though we're meeting for the first time, we get along very well, and you think it's very precious. But it seems to me that it's just a tune that I usually hum. A song is nothing compared to friendship. But my buckle still kept shaking his head. Eric, you're not from the music industry. You don't understand what a good song means to a singer. It is worth millions of dollars. This is too valuable. I can't accept it. How many $1,000,000? Godot, how much is the investment in Transformers? $150 million. Eric shrugged. My button, I think it's a piece of paper. Then it's a piece of paper. If you don't want it, then burn it. I have a lot of work to do. I don't have time to care about a song. Do you want it to sink into the dark forever? MJ has a tangled look on his face. As the king of pop, his love for music is deep in his bones. If you don't listen, burn it. The problem is that he has already heard it, and the song keeps whispering in his head like a spell, and it hurts him to bury such an excellent song. Seeing his expression, Eric grabbed the other man's hand again. Maiku, I believe that in your hands it will really shine. Rolling in the Deep seems to be about the relationship between men and women on the surface, but that's because the singer is Adele, so everyone automatically brings this emotion. If the singer is replaced by MJ, combined with his current situation, then the meaning of this song becomes struggling in the abyss, but it has an inspirational flavor. Because of this, Eric specially chose this song for my buckle. This situation is similar to Tunger's Paradise. Many people say that it is about his dead daughter, while others say that it is about his hometown. Although Eric doesn't sing many English songs, such as Let It Go, See You Again, and Despacito, which are popular all over the world, they are obviously not compatible with the current MJ. You can't let my suddenly post a Little Yellow song, crazy? That doesn't mean that the rumors of child prostitution have been confirmed. After accepting this gift, my button couldn't sleep, and the fatigue of a day of playing disappeared, and he pulled Eric directly into the workshop. Eric hummed it over and over again, and Midlock reversed the tune to the melody he sang. In fact, this process is not long, and it is almost completed in more than an hour with the strength of Maiku, and the rest is just to consider the tone of the details. The real difficulty lies in the arrangement, and if a song wants to really take shape, it is mainly composed of three parts: lyrics, composition, and arrangement. Lyrics are to write lyrics and fill in lyrics. Composition is simply to write the stave in a music textbook, and arrangement is to accompany the song, the coordination of various instruments, and the harmony of people that the audience hears. All three are indispensable, and no part of the song is complete without it. So every time Eric sings, me buckle will try back and forth between piano, guitar, drum set, bass, and other instruments until he finds the most suitable permutation. Godot and Elizabeth had watched the two try it with interest, but the process was boring for the layman, and after watching it for a while, they left bored. And it seems that he deliberately doesn't want time to bother him, so he can't find a clock here. The lights in the workshop kept on, and I don't know how long it took. Through the gap in the curtains, it seems that Leon can already be seen. My button narrowed his eyes. Is it dawn? It's been a long time since I've worked so excitedly, finishing a song in one night. Eric, if I tell this, my friends won't believe it. They know I'm a slow person. So, is that done? Asked Eric. For the most part, I need to continue to improve with the team, but it won't take long, and I'm still surprised that this is actually hummed by you, and it's already very complete. Incredible, it's incredible. Eric was also embarrassed to brag too shamelessly about himself, and instead said, That's great. Let's get this song out there. I can't wait to hear it. My co smiled with some satisfaction. Yes, and I want to put your name in the lyrics, composition, and arrangement. This is all the credit of Ling. When the song is completely perfected and the music video is filmed, it can be released as a single. It's not the era of streaming media yet, and songs aren't just uploaded to the internet for people to download, and CDs are still the main carrier. Releasing a single is not the same as releasing an album, which generally contains at least 10 songs, but only one of the title songs will be accompanied by a music video. Therefore, releasing a single can be understood as releasing the title song, and it is necessary to shoot a good MV. Otherwise, you only have one song on a CD, and no matter how stupid the listener is, few will buy it. Eric said, "It's not difficult to shoot a music video. You can directly use your current situation as a background, and if you need it, MGM can find a lot of directors and screenwriters. And I'm a fast gunner myself. A big project like Transformers, done in 2 months, breaking the industry record." MJ grinned. "Thanks, that's good news for me, but just now I realized that there is a key problem. This problem exists, and I'm afraid I won't be able to release this song anytime soon." "What's the problem?" "Eric, do you know which company releases my songs?" "It seems like Sony. I don't know much about the music market." "Yes, it's Sony Music, but my relationship with Sony is very bad at the moment, to be precise. It has been very bad since a few years ago." Eric didn't speak, but listened quietly. "It's been a long story, probably starting in 1986, when I paid a fortune to buy ATV, a music company that owns the rights to songs by artists including the Beatles and Elvis Presley. Then in 1991 Sony Music approached me, and they wanted me to join Sony Music with the rights on the condition that I get half of the shares of Sony Music. That means that from then on, not only did I work for Sony, but I was also the boss of Sony, but I didn't understand and didn't participate in management. Later, Sony Music grew in size and countless singers began to sign up, including Madonna, Oasis, Bob Dylan, Celine Dion, Norah Jones, etc. This represents everyone's money, and Sony will give me half of the money in the end, but the copyright of my own song is not actually owned by Sony. It only has the recording copyright, and the copyright is about to expire. In the beginning, I had a great time with Sony Music, but things have changed. Sony was able to give me a year's dividend, but it couldn't bear to share it with me forever, especially as the company got bigger and made more money. I remember that since about 1993, Sony started to want to buy half of the rights in my hands and wanted me to give them the full rights to my songs, but I refused. From that point on, my relationship with Sony started to get less harmonious. You know, my last album was released in 2001, and it took 5 years to make, so it could have been done much faster. But in the production process, Sony didn't want to cooperate and always found all kinds of reasons to delay it. And after the album was finally released, Sony spent very little money on publicity, and generally speaking, the company would hold various events and promotions for the new song organization, as well as the subsequent MV recording, etc., but they gave me very poor treatment, as if I was just a singer who had just debuted. Eric, if you followed the news last year, you know that Sony and I had a public argument in the newspapers over this incident, and the album sales of Unbeatable were less than 10 million copies. Maybe it is, but at least it doesn't show on the books, and all of my album sales have been stagnant since about 3 years ago. I suspect that Sony froze it, so I hope to check the accounts, but although I own half of the company's equity, I don't participate in the management, and even though they finally allowed me to send an accountant to investigate, in the end I didn't find a problem. I think you can understand this. Eric nodded. Do the accounting, Hollywood has always been the most professional, and a box office of $1 billion can be made at a loss, which is a necessary skill for every company. If you want to find out the problem with your own strength, I can tell you that it's almost impossible, my buckle. Don't say it's you. Even if you bring in those elites on Wall Street, they can't analyze the problem. Unless you get the tax office out and spend at least a few years investigating, you might be able to uncover the hidden tricks. My co smiled bitterly. Yes, so I can't do anything about Sony, and I still have debts on my back. You refuse to sell the copyright, so Sony intends to drag you down financially and force you to sell the copyright to pay off the debt, right? Yes, I guess that's what those people think. Eric sighed. If it's true, then Sony's approach is indeed very inferior. To put it bluntly, the root is still interests. Sony Music in 1991 and Sony Music in 2003 are no longer of the same magnitude, and this cake has been made bigger. In the past, it may only be necessary to give Jackson a few $1,000,000 a year, but now this figure is only afraid of hundreds of millions, and Sony will of course not be reconciled. Don't say it's Sony. If you put anyone in this position, I'm afraid you will be unwilling. The difference is only whether the means are glorious or not. This is still because MJ's status is too high and his influence is too great, and Sony also has concerns about dealing with him, so he only dares to come to the dark. If it were an ordinary singer, there would be no bones left that would have been swallowed a long time ago. My coup, then the 1993 case, and this time. My buckle nodded. I suspect it has something to do with Sony. Maybe they are instigating it behind their backs. Especially in 1993, I was going to take the case to the end. Evan Chandler couldn't produce valid evidence at all. As long as I went through the legal process, I would definitely win. But at that time, I was on a dangerous journey world tour, and Sony kept telling me to focus on my career, and of course there were a lot of people on my team who advised me. But when I accepted the out-of-court settlement proposal, the concert didn't go ahead and was forced to be terminated after less than 3 months. I don't know if Sony was involved or not, but there was a crack in our relationship at that time. Even more so now, Sony will never make any new songs for me, and I will never ask them to make songs. Sony can't do it. What about other record companies? Like EMI and Universal, can't we work with them? Eric asked. My buckle sighed. It's a choice, and since last year's complete fallout with Sony, Universal and EMI took the initiative to contact me, hoping that I could cooperate with them with 50% of the copyright, but the specific contract has not yet been negotiated, and then in February this year, things broke out again. Now public opinion is not kind to me, so the negotiations have come to a halt, and I don't think any record company would risk sending me a film at such a moment. Sorry, Eric, you may not be able to hear this song for a while. Looking at the lost MJ, Eric didn't expect that the things behind it would be so complicated, and there were so many games. Sony may be behind it, or it may be involved by other organizations or individuals besides Sony. After all, MJ's fat is really too valuable, and he's still a black man, even though he's done a lot of good things. But some things are original sin from the moment they appear. Fingers tapped slowly on the floor, and Eric pondered what to do. In addition to being his idol and the person he respects, MJ is also an important part of Eric's business plan. However, talking about business when we meet for the first time is a bit impure in motives, and we will talk about it when the time is right. In short, no matter from what point of view, he doesn't want a generation of superstars to fall into the abyss. Knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door outside, and then Godot walked in and looked at the two people lying on the ground in surprise. OMG, you wouldn't have gone all night without sleep. Seeing Eric nodded, she suddenly became a little angry. This is not the attitude that work should have. You are rushing to die suddenly. I'll go get some food, and when you're done, you roll me back to bed. After saying that, Godot slammed the door and left. Eric, you've got a great girlfriend. My Buttons said with some envy that his marriage to Catwoman was embarrassing. Yes, I think so too. After a while, Godot returned with milk and food and stuffed his phone to Eric again. Your phone is Spielberg's. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't give it to you. Eric smiled and kissed Godot, and then answered the phone. Okay, Steven, I'll call the people below, and you can ask the DreamWorks people to come over directly on Monday. Ha ha ha, now we're partners, it's nothing. If you have time, how about making an appointment with Jeffrey and David, and I'll call my dad and go play a round of golf together? Ha 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 ha. That's it, see you then. Hanging up the phone, my buckle asked curiously, Spielberg, do you have a relationship with him? Eric nodded. Yes, MGM and DreamWorks are strategic partners. I am an acquaintance of Steven, and you're also his fan? My buckle smiled. I'm afraid Steven and I have known each other longer than you, and we were good friends when he filmed Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Yes? So we can have a round of golf together and so on, and I suddenly remembered that DreamWorks has a music department, and maybe we can get David Geffen to help. He's the biggest guy in the American music scene. If he helps, it's not a difficult thing to do. Maybe it's difficult all over the world, but only in North America, he still has the ability to call the wind and rain. Unexpectedly, when it came to David Geffen, my buckle hurriedly waved his hand. No, David Geffen and it's better not to meet. Why? MJ grimaced. Actually, the relationship between the two of us was very good. I mean, in the early 90s, Madonna and I went to celebrate his birthday, but then something unpleasant happened between us, and then we became estranged. What's the matter? Is it serious? My buckle shook her head and kept silent. Then let's do it. I can talk to David first. If he is willing to give me face, I'll pull Steven to make peace for you. You don't come forward yet. Forget it, it's going to be a little embarrassing. My buckle, people are like this. You need help now, in short. Leave it to me. You can't go wrong with a try. Maiko, you are a very kind person, but kind people are often the most vulnerable. Some time ago, I went to China, which is an ancient country with a history of 5,000 years, where there is a saying that you must not have the heart of harming others, and you must not have the heart of guarding against others. Probably this means that we can't take the initiative to hurt others, but we also have to be careful of harm from others. A sentence can be passed down for thousands of years. There must be a reason for it. Maiko and the three of them hugged one by one. I understand what you mean. I will be careful. Goodbye, Eric. Goodbye, Godot, and your little Elizabeth. Next time, don't forget to bring me your sister's CD. Lamborghini launched, and Eric left with two beautiful girls, one big and one small. When I walked out of the gate of Neverland, I saw someone sneaking around not far away. With his eyes, he can instantly tell that it is definitely a paparazzi. It doesn't matter, anyway. From the time he publicly supported MJ, there was no need to hide. And Lamborghini is very well hidden, and the paparazzi found Eric's car at most, and it is definitely impossible to photograph who is sitting in the car. Godot, your studs are so beautiful. On the way back, Godot and Elizabeth sat in the back seat together, and the two chatted about the sky. Godot covered his mouth happily. Is it? This was brought to me by Eric from Huaxia. Elizabeth looked closer. It's really peculiar. I think so, too. It's completely different from the American craft, and I really like it. Your skin looks so healthy. What skincare products to use? At first, Eric could still understand what the two said, but when they discussed women-only topics such as cosmetics, Eric was completely blinded. His mind couldn't help but return to MJ. The reason why Eric wants to help each other is to admire and worship, and he doesn't want such a good person to be wronged. On the other hand, he naturally hopes to absorb my buckle into his team and let him join his business plan. Although Jackson is only a singer, he cannot be seen as a singer alone because his influence is too great. The album sales are the first in the world, and one can match the sales of other first-class singers for a lifetime. In the 80s and 90s, wherever he went, he would cause a frenzy, and he was treated as a guest of honor by presidents, prime ministers, princes, and kings of various countries. At the same time, starting from Mei Lingzong, every president took office, and MJ was invited to the White House platform. At his peak, He could borrow the army to shoot the MV, which is a bit similar to Jackie Chan borrowing H submarines to film. At the concert in Bucharest, 72,000 people were crammed into the venue, which could only accommodate 70,000 people. What's even more terrifying is that more than 400,000 people gathered outside the venue. Due to scalpers, counterfeiting, and other problems, many of the more than 400,000 people actually bought tickets. But there is no way I can't squeeze in at all. Before Eric's Crossing, a concert with thousands of people was massive. And this is 500,000 people, and on the battlefield, it is already the number of large-scale battles. The gathering of 500,000 fanatical fans also led to the Romanian government sending more than 5,000 military and police officers to maintain order and 2,000 medical teams from major hospitals to be on standby. The Romanian government's concerns proved to be justified, as the concert was the most crazy it ever was. Due to the large number of people, the fans' breaths formed a mist overhead, and the screams of exhaustion caused countless people to be dizzy due to lack of oxygen. According to the final statistics, there were about 5,000 fans who fainted on the spot, and an average of 10 fans fainted due to excitement and lack of oxygen in less than a minute. There are also 23 people who died directly due to myocardial infarction or trampling due to being too excited and losing control of their emotions. And because MJ chose to wear underwear over that concert, a saying was born. There are only two people in the world who can wear underwear over their panties, Superman and Michael Jackson. What is the king of pop? This is it. Since MGM is engaged in the entertainment industry, the music sector will be involved sooner or later, and if it can win over the banner of MJ, there is no need to say much about the role. What's more, Milestone also holds 50% of the song copyrights of half of the pop singers in the United States. When YouTube is launched, it can borrow the power of MJ to directly parachute a music section. And when MGM's online platform is launched, it is definitely not enough to attract users only by movies and TV series. Variety shows are also a big piece of content, and music variety shows are a big cake in variety shows. In 2001, the UK had already made Pop Idol, which was the first music talent show. Last year, Fox bought the rights to Pop Idol and developed American Idol, which exploded as soon as the ratings aired. However, although American Idol is powerful, if he sacrifices the killer trick of the voice and invites MJ to be a guest, what will Fox do? It took me more than an hour to return to Los Angeles. At this time, it was getting dark, and Lamborghini sent little Elizabeth home first. Arriving at the door of the villa, Eric and Godot waved goodbye to Aume, and the mother of the three Olsen sisters, Garnetti, came over and said, "Eric, come in and have a bite to eat. It's dinner time, and Ashley and Mary are there." "I'm sorry, Garnetti. I'm going to send this young lady home, and I have something to do. Something very important, so I'll treat you to dinner another day." Then the Lamborghini left under Elizabeth's reluctant gaze. Back at home, Aome washed up and sat down at the table, where Garnetti had already served her food. "Isn't that guy coming in?" "He refused," asked Ashley. "Yes, there's a girl in Eric's car, a pretty girl, and Eric is going to take her home." "Girl, who is it?" asked Mary with a sudden look of her head. The mother and daughter looked at Aome together, and Elizabeth replied, No. Gal Gadot is the heroine of Transformers." Mary glared and exclaimed, "It's her." "I see. I know that their relationship is not simple, otherwise how could a woman with no background get the heroine of such a blockbuster, let alone the heroine? Ordinary people can't even get a small supporting role with 3 lines. Damn. I remember there were media reports about the relationship between the two of them before, but then it didn't work. Damn it. "Mary, why are you so angry?" asked Garnetti curiously. "No, Mom. I just disdain this dirty deal. The unspoken rules are the most annoying. Ashley, are you right?" Ashley nodded heavily. "That's right. The unspoken rules are the most annoying." Elizabeth drank the soup depressed. and she specifically asked her mother to cook a good meal, but Eric left directly. Saying goodbye to Olsen's house, Lamborghini stopped at a fast food restaurant. Eric packed some high-calorie food from the window. There is still a big battle tonight, and he must replenish his strength. The car finally returned to Godot's apartment. Today is April 30th, which is also Godot's 18th birthday, and after tonight, she will be an adult on a legal level. Entering the room, the lights were off, and Valafali was not there. Actually, it doesn't matter if you're here. It's the United States, and it's common to find roommates snapping with objects since college. Honey, you go take a shower first. I'll get something ready. Undressed, Eric walked into the bathroom and quickly filled the entire tub with water, sprinkling it with bath salts and bubble liquid. He couldn't help but nod. Nice. I didn't pay attention to this apartment when I chose it, and I found out that the bathtub was scary and I didn't know what the builder was for. At this time, Godot walked in with a plate, and food and drinks were placed on it. Come on in, baby. I'm not in the mood to eat right now. I just want to eat you in one bite. It was supposed to be bought by Leffeli, and it can be eaten with fried chicken. Godot took off his clothes as he spoke, and as the last two underwear fell to the ground, the delicate and beautiful young body was displayed in front of Eric. Woohoo! After a few whistles, Eric couldn't help but nod. Although I've seen it countless times, every time I see it again, she can still fascinate me. So, what do you want to do? Asked Godot with a smile. I want to eat some meat first. What? The one on your chest. Hee hee. In the tub, Eric hugged Godot from behind, his teeth gently gnawing at the other's body. Why do you feel like they're getting bigger again? Honey, are you still developing? Stupid bastard. I'm 18 pounds fatter now than I was before I came to America. Godot said with a slight gasp. No, that's because you were so thin before. Didn't you notice that your body is more proportionate after gaining weight? Not only have your legs become more slender, but your body is also better. When it comes to figure, Godot has definitely changed a lot in the past 6 months or so. Because she is going to star in Transformers, she will definitely not meet the standard with her thin body, so at Eric's request, she has experienced weight gain and rigorous workouts in the gym, and now her figure is close to the period of filming Fast and Furious. The chest is obviously bulging, a clear vest line appears on the lower abdomen, and the most eye-catching thing is the pair of tight and slender long legs. I don't know how many people are willing to die under this pair of deadly scissor feet. The only difference between her and Wonder Woman now is that the edges and corners of her face have not yet reached such a clear point. After Eric's careful guidance, Godot is becoming more and more suitable for the big screen in all aspects. Oh dear.
Where's
the itch? Inside. Think about the itch you want. Tell me, how can I stop the itch for you? That's it, Godot said as he plunged headlong into the water until the surface began to bubble, and then suddenly surfaced in Eric's comfortable moans. The long hair flicked from the bottom up, carrying countless droplets of water onto Eric's chest. Then the two long legs grabbed Eric's back and pulled him violently, and his arms hooked his neck, and the whole person hung on Eric's body like a koala and asked for a kiss. The mist gradually rose, and the water was already splashing on the ground. Eric, do you want to be here? Eric hummed softly. I heard that the water can reduce pain. I specially picked the venue. Why do you know so well? Because the doctor told me. Really? You still ask the doctor this kind of question? Are you Dada? After a long time, the tongues of the two parted, and Eric kissed the tip of Godot's nose. Are there still so many questions? Godot frowned and hugged Eric very hard, as if he wanted to melt himself into the other party's body, and the bear was about to be squashed. Of course there is, and more. Which bastard doctor told you? It just hurts. I want to kill him. I don't know how long it took, but the two fell asleep. I didn't open my eyes until I heard the sound of a person coughing. At the door of the bathroom, Judy and Valafali were each leaning against one of the door frames, looking at them with a smile. Good job. Sticking out two thumbs, Judy expressed her admiration with an inexplicable smile on her face. Pulling Godot's hair away from his face, Eric had some difficulty opening his eyes, and the light that had just woken up made him a little uncomfortable. Judy, leftfully, why did you come back? Judy pointed to her wrist. Boss, it's already past 2 o'clock in the night. Why do you say we're coming back? Is it so late?
No bundei más lap.
Wow. Looks like you're in a fierce fight. Balafali pointed to the water stains on the ground. Being teased by his best friend, Godot lay on Eric's chest a little shyly. Eric waved his hand. Don't you think you should avoid this kind of scene? Is this necessary? Do you still want to get dressed and go home? Asked Judy rhetorically. Even if we don't go home, let's go back to our room first. Okay. You're the boss. You have the final say, Lafali. Let's go to your room. Thingda. To leave, Eric stepped out of the bathtub and picked up Godot and walked out of the bathroom. Phew, so big. Suddenly, Judy's head came out of the crack in the door, and she said with a wink, not knowing what she was talking about. Rolling his eyes, Eric carried Godot back to his room. Drying his body and getting into the fragrant quilt, Eric was a little depressed. I don't have a change of clothes. It will make me very uncomfortable to wear dirty clothes after taking a shower. It seems that I have to ask Chinxing to send a set tomorrow morning. Godot grinned and wrapped his arms around Eric's neck, his head resting on his shoulder. I'll buy you clothes tomorrow, and I'll put a few sets here in the future, and you can change them however you want. Well, that's fine. Save the trouble, or you are intimate. Bah. Godot squeezed Eric onto him. Honey, it's so comfortable to sleep with you. I seem to love this feeling. This is normal after all. I am such a good man. Talent and beauty coexist. Look at this handsome face. Look at the whole of Hollywood. How many male actors can compare? Hearing him boast about himself, Godot couldn't help laughing. You still forgot the same. What? Flim tongue. Isn't it good to have a flamboyant tongue? Nasty. One more time. Don't, it hurts. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door, and Eric woke up from his sleep. Looking around, Godot had disappeared. Looked at the time, it was already 8:30. Today is Monday. She must have gone to the crew of Happy Death Day. What's the matter? Who's knocking on the door? The doorknob was unscrewed, and Judy stood there pinching her waist. Eric, why don't you get out of bed yet? It's time to go to work. Go to work. I'm running the company. I can go on if I want to. I can't go on if I don't want to. Get out of here. I haven't slept enough. Judy glared at him, dissatisfied. Can the boss not go to work? Can the boss sleep in? Nonsense. Otherwise, what am I doing as this boss? Wait, you used to say that you were dealing with things, so you had to be a few hours late. Wouldn't you be sleeping late? Fart, that's really work to deal with. Get the door on and get out. Whoa. Suddenly, I felt a cool breeze, and the quilt was directly lifted off by Judy. Wow, it's bigger than yesterday. Eric looked at her speechlessly. Judy Newhouse, you're a woman too. Please look like a woman, okay? With what you did just now, I can go directly to the court and sue you for sexual harassment. And it's morning, of course it's going to be bigger. Judy touched her chin. But didn't you just finish it last night, and it was back again in such a short time? Isn't it okay for me to be born with divine powers and talent? Bring me the quilt and let Leffily see. What are you afraid of? Leffily is gone, and now there are only the two of us left in the room, and it's not like I haven't seen it, which part of your body I haven't seen in your 4 years of college. As she spoke, she suddenly approached and grabbed Eric's handle and stroked it. It turned out to be this feeling, really hard. Eric slapped her hand away. Judy is like that. This little is like that. It is a state at work. It is another state in life. And the roles of boss and friend are very separate. After this episode, In the end, Eric was dragged out of bed. Judy also came to the company with Lincoln as she wished. In the office, Bordeaux handed over a report. "Boss, this is the starting plan for the 3 projects, and the total cost is expected to be around $40 million after the producer's calculations." Eric looked at it, and the report said A Quiet Place, Hold Your Breath, and The Hangover. The Hangover has the highest production cost of $20 million, followed by A Quiet Place with an estimated $15 million, and Hold Your Breath with a small cost of $6 million. After thinking about it for a while, Eric changed the cost of Hold Your Breath to $5 million and the cost of The Hangover to $30 million, while A Quiet Place didn't move. The scene of Hold Your Breath is actually very small. It is mainly a villa, and the most important role is the blind veteran. Except for this role, all the others are newcomers or actors who have acting skills but are not very famous. You will consider the specifics. By the way, a couple of young people in this play can have Tom Hardy, Fassbinder, and James McAvoy audition, if that's right. In addition, I asked them if they would like to sign a film contract with MGM, sign as many films as they can, and finally submit a list to me.
Bordeaux
Wrote things down. "Boss, how many of them are you optimistic about?" "The acting skills are good, the basic skills are solid, and they are very spiritual, and they are good seedlings worth cultivating," Eric said and pointed to The Hangover. "The production cost of The Hangover can't be saved. Let's go to Las Vegas to shoot it when the time comes, and the key to this drama is not only the performance of the trio, but also the cameo of the big names. For example, Tyson wants to invite him personally. Don't do tricky shooting methods such as not showing his face, and other surprise characters who don't appear much can also find some big names. Don't be stingy with cost in this regard." The role of Phil Winnick was left to Ryan Reynolds, and I promised him a long time ago, and the other roles went through formal auditions. In addition, the role of the daughter in A Quiet Place, I want to give it to Elizabeth Olsen. What do you think? Bordeaux shrugged. "I think it's a good fit. You're the boss, and you've never made a mistake in your decisions." Eric looked at him with a smile. "When are you going to learn to make sycophants too?" Bordeaux also smiled. "When I decided to mature myself." "Well, it looks like you did. Call Billy, Warren, and Judy in the evening and come to my house for dinner. You haven't been here for a while after Christmas, and Emily has been talking about you a lot." Bordeaux nodded. "I promise to remember this matter most clearly, and in addition, the news just came in the morning that the Kung Fu crew of Xiangjiang Xinhui Company has started production." Recalling the contract, Eric sighed. "It's almost time to start shooting at the beginning of May, so let's pay Xinhui. Call Stephen Chow for the first issue first. Who will choose the producer?" "Baggins, the old man from the production department. He flew over last week." "Okay. Got it. You go and do something."
Bordeaux
Turned to leave, and when he reached the door, he heard Eric stop him again. "Wait, I suddenly remembered. How is the project of The Devil of the Witch?" Since Transformers was finished, Patty Jenkins has disappeared from the world, and there has been no news of her for a while. "Hee, boss, she just didn't come to see you, but we just met last week, and she came to the company to discuss the budget, but it hasn't been decided yet."
Bordeaux
said helplessly. "Actually, it's the heroine's problem. Patty Jenkins is in contact with Charlize Theron. Whether or not Theron can be talked about is the key to the cost of this film. But I think there is a problem with her choice. To be precise, everyone in the production department thinks that her choice is problematic. It is Charlize Theron, a sexy goddess who was born as a model, and the heroine of this movie is completely incompatible. Shouldn't she go to find an ugly with 5 big and 3 thick? Eric, if it weren't for the fact that you completely delegate power to Patty Jenkins, we would definitely have stopped her from doing this confusing way." Eric's mind couldn't help but recall The Witch Head. Before the film, who could have imagined that Charlize Theron would turn into that ghost? However, Awards ceremonies all over the world seem to like actors to be ugly, and the Emperor's acting skills are really superb, so he finally won the Oscar in one fell swoop. According to the development of the plot, Piety Jenkins is likely to bring Charlize Theron here, and I can go to the visiting class then, Your Emperor. Eric thought to himself. Evening, Beverly Hills, Cooper's house. Everyone's stomachs were propped up, and the little nanny brought dessert after the meal. Warren rubbed his growing belly. Oh my God, while my stomach is protesting, my tongue keeps saying more. Judy frowned. You better shut up, Warren. I see you're at least 20 pounds fatter than the last time we met. You used to be like a rugby, now it's going to be basketball. Look at your boobs, they're much bigger than mine. I'm D, you've got at least F. Warren looked down at his chest and held his hands on it, causing everyone to vomit with the movement of his hot eyes. Eric slapped his head. Warren, a good man doesn't have a second wife. You really should lose weight. I'm worried that you will get sick if you continue like this.
Billy
said, It's not worrying. You go to the hospital for a checkup now. It's likely that you have obesity. You have to lose weight, or one day you will fall ill and your parents, brothers and sisters will blame Eric to death. Persuaded by everyone, Warren had no choice but to put the dessert back. The pain of losing weight is well known, and the difficulty of restraining the desire to speak is completely comparable to that of restraining physical desire, and it is very difficult to lose weight by relying on a person's willpower. Warren, do you have a favorite girl, like you? Find a woman to supervise, it is possible to lose weight successfully. Warren shook his head. What about you? Not one. How can you say that you are also a senior executive of AK Film and Television now, and no young actor has ever expressed his meaning to you? Yes, there must be, but I know what they are for. It's not love anyway. Warren said with some embarrassment. Bordeaux slapped the fat man. Are you crazy? This is Hollywood. It's the entertainment industry. Do you want to find sincere love here? Titanic is fake. Be sober. Play well. Don't dream. I still want to look for it, and to be honest, I already have someone I like. Who? The four asked in unison. Pema. Who? Pema Hadi. Other three were unfamiliar, and Eric naturally knew who it was. He looked at the fat man with some surprise. Warren, do you know that Pema Hardy is 35 years old? 35 years old. Do you have a mother complex? Judy exclaimed. What's wrong with being 35 years old? Does love have anything to do with age? I have been with Pema for half a year, and she is really a very attractive woman. But Pema Hadi is a strong woman with a strong career. Are you sure you can handle her? Eric asked. I can't control her. Just let her control me. Warren muttered quietly. As soon as this remark came out, he instantly became the most beautiful boy in the Cooper family, and the four of them gave him a thumbs up to express their admiration. After chatting for a while, Eric called Billy aside.
Bang Yang.
The beers in the hands bumped together. Billy, haven't you been in England for a while to get the rights to House of Cards? Michael Dobbs. How does it have to do with him? It's okay. I've met a few times, and I'm more familiar with his wife Evelyn, because Michael Dobbs is often not at home, and his wife is there. When I wanted to contact him, I had to start with Evelyn. The relationship between the couple is still very good, decades of relationship. Michael Dobbs also looked at Evelyn's face, and finally agreed to license House of Cards to us. Why do you suddenly ask this old man? Is there anything going on? I remember you said that he was a politician, right? Eric continued. Billy nodded. It's not just some power. Michael Dobbs is a member of the Conservative Party, the former chief of staff of the Thatcher government, and now he is the deputy chairman of the Conservative Party, and he has a lot of power. Eric, what's going on? Why do you suddenly ask about this person? With a long breath, Eric looked at Billy. It's good that you can get in touch with Michael Dobbs. You may need to make another trip to England in the near future. What? Asked Billy. I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when the time comes. Looking at the confused Billy, Eric patted him on the shoulder. Let's go. Let's go back to drinking. Naturally, Eric was thinking about Mac, the journalist who framed Mac, Martin Basher, who belonged to the BBC, which in turn was a British press. Getting a journalist, even if it's a well-known one, is just a matter of a few words for a political bigwig like Michael Daubers. Through the communication with Maiku, Eric judged that there was a high probability that there was an improper transaction between this guy and Sony. Whether there will be a BBC company involved, Eric thinks not, because there is no conflict of interest between the BBC and Milebuckle. Even if you want to create a hotspot, you don't have to choose Jackson, go to the Middle East, Asia, Africa to shoot some materials, and the attention will definitely be wider than that of entertainment stars. If there really is only one journalist involved, it is not impossible to ask Michael Dobbs to produce some evidence on the premise that he is willing to pay a fee. And once the key evidence is really obtained, if the situation develops to the point of uncontrollable situation, it will be a killer feature. Damn, it looks like I'm going to be Lu Xiaoli again. In addition to Martin Basher's side, there is Jody Chandler, the accuser of the 1993 child molestation case. Back in time, Michael Jackson was completely cleared after his death in 2009, as Jody Chandler finally told the truth. He said that the 1993 accusation was completely false, that his father, Evan Chandler, had fabricated a story to blackmail MJ's money, and that it was a false accusation. At this point, the public completely believed that MJ was innocent, but unfortunately the person had passed away, and until he died, he did not really return his innocence after all. And shortly after Jody Chandler issued a clarification announcement, on November 5, 2009, Evan Chandler committed suicide by swallowing a gun. This bastard has not yet ushered in the judgment of the public and fans, and he has completely left the world, which can be regarded as cheap. According to the investigation after the incident, the recording of Evan Chandler's conspiracy with the psychiatrist was also exposed. In other words, the evidence does exist, and as long as it can be found, the false accusations that MJ bears can be completely washed away.